I think you're more willing, or more likely at least, to fall in love with potential if you're afraid of being alone. Because if you're afraid of being alone, you're thinking to yourself, well, if this changes and this changes and this changes and this changes, I won't be alone. And I've definitely had bouts of that in my life, but I think as I've understood that, I've tried to do a better job of not falling in love with potential for that reason.
I think that you and you alone need to have the highest level of drive for reaching your own goals, your own dreams, your own potential. And I think it can be very dangerous if someone else wants success for you more than you want it for yourself. And that's what we're going to dive back into today.
Next Level Nation, today for episode number 2065, we're doing a part 2. So a losing game when it comes to relationships part 2, because we didn't really have that much time to dive in, and I feel like Alan and I were going in different directions, not in a bad way, but I want to make sure that we wrap it up with a bow and we leave with some tangible takeaways. So again, do I remember exactly what we talked about yesterday in terms of like all the points we touched on? No, we very rarely do 2-part episodes, so we're going to see what happens. I feel like you were talking from a coaching perspective, where I was talking more from like a personal, intimate relationship, probably more than anything. I guess friendship too.
How dare you?
What is that about?
In a good mood. I wasn't really talking from a coaching perspective. I was talking from a life and leadership perspective.
Okay, go on.
Your thesis on the last episode, was I didn't think I was going to be successful, so I had to surround myself with people who I knew for certain were not going to be holding me back. And then you reframed it with, I needed to be around people that would accelerate my growth, not decelerate it. And as someone who I do believe has always been an accelerator, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. What is it that I'm doing exactly in my coaching? Because I've been reflecting a lot over the last many years, and I have it boiled down to 3 things. And I'll make a point with this. I'm not just talking about me here. Seriously. I got a point with this. So the first one is self-belief. Inject self-belief. Help people believe in themselves more. The second one is deeper understanding and distinctions. It's intelligence. I would put it all underneath the word intelligence, aka deeper understanding of yourself, others, and the world, so that you can pick a good direction. We talked in an episode a couple days ago about how if you're in the wrong direction, being motivated in that direction and believing in yourself more is actually bad. And I use the analogy of when I was a kid, I had high confidence, low humility, and low competence in a car, and that was very dangerous. I took a turn too fast, and I actually 360'd across someone's lawn when I was very young. That was really scary. And that was a humble pie moment for me of I have to be more careful. I didn't understand this. And again, young men tend to be reckless when they have too much confidence and not enough humility. So number 1 is self-belief. Number 2 is intelligence. That was not an intelligent turn. Not an intelligent choice. The car thing. And then the last one is momentum, which is just motivate the fuck out of people. Just crank it. Let's go. What are we doing? I will always be pushing. Always. And you and I, on the last episode, we didn't necessarily disagree, but we definitely weren't on the exact same page, because I've spent my entire life trying to help people reach their potential, even when I didn't know that's what I was doing. And I do think some of it was because I didn't want to outgrow people. I have a friend of mine growing up, he didn't get into the college. We were going to go to college together, we were going to start a company together, and he didn't get in. And I remember thinking, you're not going to get in if you keep getting B's, man. Like, this is you got to get your shit together. But I didn't have the courage to say anything. Now, the truth is, I wanted success for him more than he wanted for himself. And then he went to UMass Amherst, and he failed out. And because engineering school is really hard if you're not around other engineers. He wasn't. There's something called the Commonwealth at UMass Amherst, and I actually got a free ride to that school, and I was part of the Commonwealth, and I went to WPI instead. But ultimately he was around people that weren't in engineering, and that's a very bad idea because when you're in engineering, you need to be around other engineers so they can study together and help you, because he was around the partiers. And I think the thesis of the last episode, this was my point, you poured less into, I think you were good at accepting people for all of who they were, but maybe never really led and drove them to be better. And I think I was probably the opposite. And I think we're driving to 5 very nicely.
I don't think I'm willing to be villainized by by the people closest to me. Because I feel like if you overdo it, it's like, okay, I guess what's the overdo, underdo? If you overdo it, they villainize you. If you underdo it, you regret it, maybe?
Yeah. I
right?
think so.
So I think I'm just more, I don't know, it's hard for me because I don't want to be an annoyance to people.
Well, you don't like challenging people.
It's hard for me to challenge someone beyond what I think the challenge that they want is. I think that's what's really hard for me. You know, I don't, because when I say I want to do something, I really mean that. I'm not just saying I want to get to 165 pounds. Like, I intend on doing that. That's like, I'm not just saying it. I want to do it. So I'm going to do it. And if somebody asked me if I needed help with that, I would say yes. And this is the goal. This is exactly what I want. I don't know. Good.
When you challenge me in the past in fitness, why were you willing to risk our relationship?
Because it wasn't a risk.
How did you know?
Because it's something you value it more highly than I do. You better be in better shape than I am. And you think that more than I do. That. And you want me to call you out. You've given me permission.
How do you know?
Because you've given me actual permission in advance to call you out. I think
there have been things that you have called me out on that I did not give you permission in advance. I can think of at least one.
Because I know you wanted it. I know you wanted it, and I know you needed it in order to get to where you wanted to get to. And I don't think that's the case for everybody, I guess. Well,
I said this to you behind the scenes, and I don't think, I'm presupposing you wouldn't mind me sharing it. If for whatever reason you do, let's cut it out. But ultimately, I said, I've been a driver, a catalyst, a challenger to help you reach your potential since we reconnected in our mid-20s. And I said, why do you want to benefit from all that, but never give that to others? And I'm not saying never. Obviously, you challenge your clients and stuff. And I'm not exactly perfect in this either. Obviously, I've wanted success for others more than they wanted it for themselves. But they pretended and or said that they wanted. I literally, and I tell a story, I have a client, she's listening right now, who said, I want you to be as hard on me as you are on yourself. And she said that 6 years ago. And I told Emilia that behind the scenes, and Emilia said, no, she would die. And now, all these years later, she said, I would have died. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. It's like, well, you didn't know what you were saying, and I thought you meant it. And I didn't take it literally, because you can only be as hard on yourself as you have a certain level of self-esteem, self-belief, self-confidence, and self-worth. I can be harder on me now than I could back in the day, especially in fitness. When I was brand new, I remember I went into the gym, I cried in the bathroom and left. Like, I could not be hard on me then. That would not be constructive. That would be destructive. But that's what I'm always trying to figure out is, what is the construction zone? And the answer is not don't
that's
give
fair.
Feedback. The answer is give the right amount of feedback.
Yeah. And I think sometimes if I'm going to miss, I'm going to miss under. I'm not going to miss. I want to miss over. Yeah. I don't want to miss over, because I don't know. I feel like I have so much empathy for somebody who wants to grow, because it's been so hard to grow. It's so uncomfortable. And I've gotten feedback I didn't fucking want and I wasn't ready for. I was like, all right, I'll figure this out. Like, I'll have
but that benefited you.
But I believe I'm unique in that. I believe I'm a unique case. I have a lot of grit. I don't know. I just keep showing up. I don't think I actually want what I say I want. I actually want it. Imagine you go to a fitness coach. Two versions. Kevin, who goes and hires a fitness coach, And when I say fitness coach, I mean this is a bodybuilding prep coach. That's what this is. This is not a fitness coach helping me get ready for something other than a bodybuilding show. Like, this is a bodybuilding coach who knows all about supplements, all about posing, all about judging, all of that stuff. I go and I say, I want to win the show. Awesome. Kevin B goes and says, I want to win the show, but doesn't mean it. The same feedback is going to hurt completely differently.
How would you know Kevin B didn't mean it? That's the part I was always missing.
I would do what you spoke about on the last episode is, you want to get to the top of the mountain. Awesome. Have you visited Base Camp 1 yet? No, you haven't yet. All right, let's go there. Yes, the air is thinner here than you thought, isn't it? Yes, common, happens often. Let's see how it feels here for a while. And then we're going to know whether or not you're going to go to Base Camp. The air is thinner at Base Camp 2 than it is at Base Camp 1, my friend.
I do love that story of the 6-minute mile. That was fun. That was fun for me.
That was me trying to get to the top of the mountain without realizing what it was. 100%. But what if I never ran? Then you'd never know. You would never know. But we were like, yeah, let's go do it. Let's see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? You can almost die, for sure. But that was the action that brought more awareness.
But isn't there some truth to you're not going to die, though? You're going to do something really hard. You're going to get humble pie, and then you're going to become a better man because of it.
If you have the right amount of belief, yeah. I have very high belief when it comes to physical capabilities. And that's not going to hurt me. I'm fine. Whatever. Yeah, that's fine.
To provide context, Kevin and I were in the gym together. He's like, I could probably run a 6-minute mile. I was like, dude, no fucking chance.
It doesn't sound that hard when you think about it.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's terrible. It's really the worst.
Hard. It's the worst.
I wasn't even close.
Yeah, you weren't
even close. I didn't finish.
I said, let's go to the track right after this. And we did. And Kev got to the 3rd lap and he died.
I died.
He was dead, yeah.
Reckless.
I got 6:17 and I was dying.
I
could barely get it.
Yeah, it was reckless.
Yeah, I did a time mile the other day. It's humbling as shit, man. I think it was like 7:30 something. And I was cooking. Is this app right? Oh my God. Right? I mean, granted, it was hot as shit, and I can insert excuse here, but it's not easy. It's not an easy feat. I mean, the 5K we did last summer, it was so fucking humbling. I do think that's good for you, though.
I think it's
good for me, for sure.
Yeah, it's good for you.
It's good perspective.
Well, perspective for you shows you that you're not as great as you think. Perspective for other people, you don't want it to show them how great that they're not, because I think a lot of people walk around with that. Like, if you're listening right now and you resonate more with me than you do with Alan, you need to build your belief, probably. And
it all comes down to belief, huh?
I think
Everything
so. I think it does.
Belief.
I think it does. I don't know if it's like quote unquote that simple, but yeah, you don't. There's certain things that I don't care if I lose.
I just had a breakthrough.
Yeah.
You build belief through tough feedback, but it's the right amount.
The right amount.
Here, if you get feedback the premise of this is I tend to go over and give more feedback than is constructive, and I've definitely got better at that. And you tend to go under. Neither one of those is going to build belief. You can't baby people all the time.
No, I disagree. Disagree strongly.
You cannot build... Dude, Jim Rohn has this great quote. He says, how long would you give your average student... How long would you let them stay in 2nd grade?
But
he's like, that's why they make the desks so small. You're an adult.
But that's suggesting that the person's not leveling up. They are. 100%. You know how many people I've helped start podcasts who didn't believe in themselves and actually get a good amount of episodes out?
Just say that again.
You know how many people I've helped? You know how many people with low self-belief I've helped start podcasts that never would have started podcasts? A lot.
Yeah. Well, isn't there something to be said though for preparing? I think it's irresponsible to baby someone too much too, though.
I agree. Yeah. I think if somebody has a level 5 self-belief and you're giving them level 1 feedback, you're not doing them favors.
Right.
Let's do self-belief and self-worth, because self-worth matters too in this, right? It's not just self-belief.
I think so. Yeah, for sure.
Right? It's not just self-belief. Yeah. That's not enough. That's not enough. But if they're level 5, you can't give them level 10.
Yeah, agreed. But you can't give them level 4 either.
I agree. 100%. I agree.
You got to give them level 6.
You got to give them 5 or higher. Probably 5 to 7.
Not too high.
Yeah, 5 to 7. I'd say plus or minus 2 is probably, but like, imagine you go to a t-ball game, right? These like 5-year-old kids, and you just berate them. And again, I'm not saying you would ever do that, but I can imagine a scene from a movie. Like, imagine a scene from a movie. One coach that is just fired up. Okay, this is it. Yeah. A t-ball coach gets on the wrong bus, and a professional coach gets on the wrong bus. Professional coach is going to a t-ball game. T-ball coach is going to a professional game, and they give the same feedback. So the professional coach is screaming at these t-ballers. Just fucking screaming at them. And then the t-ball coach is like, yeah, you're doing great. Awesome. Yeah. And he's just having the time of his life. And these are professional baseball players. And they're like, what the fuck is this? That's a good example of it, a good visualization of it.
I played flag football way back in the day. Dude, some of these coaches were really fucking hard on me.
Of course.
There's we do Next Level Hope Foundation, and we've had events, Father's Day and holiday event. We actually have one coming up in 50 days for Father's Day. There was a young kid, he's like 9, and he is talented but cocky. And you had a moment with him where you were a little harder on him than you would have been some of the other kids.
100%.
And not in a negative way. It wasn't toxic, but it was a little bit of a check. And now I understand.
He sassed me. And again, we know this wasn't a stranger's child. Like we knew this person.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons why people were so hard on me is because I was so confident. Because that kid is really confident. He's definitely got some arrogance too. But I think that because I was so confident, I got a lot more intense feedback.
Makes sense.
And some of it was very, very... You know, I told you about the biscuits getting thrown at me? Mm-hmm. And I was a busboy and I burnt the biscuits. I wonder if that happened on some level because people knew that I had a high level of self-concept. Like, dude, have you ever heard so many fucking stories of the whole class laughing at me? Like, that's not normal. What is that about?
No. Well, because you had self-belief and you called it out. Like, oh, this book is wrong. Of course, nobody in the class is going to think the book's wrong. I mean, that makes sense to me, at least. I don't know if I would ever question a book because I don't believe I know better than the book. I don't know.
The book was wrong.
I know. Well, now I know. I know that now. But at the time, I probably wouldn't have guessed it. It makes sense. I think you're an easy target. You're an easy target for people to give feedback to. And you ask for feedback all the time. So, of course, you're going to get it. I feel like once you ask for feedback once, people think they can just give it whenever they want.
Yeah.
Even when they don't know.
Amelia said this once. She said, I just witnessed you get made fun of by everybody there. And then you joined them in making fun of you, and you're 10 times more. She said 100 times. You're 100 times more than all those guys. And I had this moment of, but I said, you thought that was bad? I didn't even fucking notice that. And she said that was what was the most alarming is that you didn't even notice. I think I've always been shit on, to be completely honest. And here's the thing, when you're really good at stuff, you get shit on the most because people think it doesn't bother you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why it's so personal. It's like the feedback you've gotten is based on you asked and you had really high belief and maybe you had low self-worth, so maybe you just fawned when you got feedback. I think everybody gets feedback in different ways from different people and they receive it differently, and
my response was always just go get better. Which long term that ended up being great.
But I don't think that's a common response.
Yeah, fair.
I don't think that's a common response.
Based on belief.
I think again, is it that simple? No, there's obviously other stuff.
Do you think
that goes
people
to
were
it.
too soft on you because you appeared more delicate or whatever? Because I think that's a thing too.
Next Level Nation, what is happening? If you've thought to yourself, I want to try coaching, but you don't really know where to start, group coaching would be a wonderful place for you. That's really why we created it in the first place. We start a new round every 90 days. So if you're hearing this, go to the website, nextleveluniverse.com, and we have the landing page where you can actually hold your spot right now. Even if there's a group going on right now, you can still lock your spot for the next one. The biggest thing that we've seen is as we get closer and closer to the date, unfortunately, some people end up missing. The group fills up and they can't do it, and then they end up regretting that. So please head over to the website. The link will be in the show notes, and we would love to see you there.
There's one person I'm thinking of in the past. She's in some serious trouble. They didn't believe in her at all. So, and I'll keep this anonymous, of course, but I coached her for a time, and she was told by her parents that her parents didn't think she was very bright. And the truth is, there's some truth to that. Some of us are naturally gifted in intelligence, and some people aren't, and fixed mindset versus growth mindset. Like, all of us can get smarter. I'm with you. But we all know we're not all created identical, okay? You have to dance so much around that. It's like, listen, certain things came really easy to me. Certain things really didn't. It is what it is. Okay, this person was definitely not on the high end of the statistical bell curve of IQ. And she was told, because of that, her parents didn't push her, but they did push her siblings. And her siblings were pushed to go to Ivy League schools, just like the dad and all this stuff. And I remember thinking, you're in trouble because no one pushed you. And when I coached her, obviously I had to push her because I'm a coach. That's what I do. Like, I'm going to find I'm not going to hurt you, but I have to push you. And she achieved things she never, ever has achieved before. And she built levels of belief she had never had before. Now, what I realize now in hindsight is some of that was delusion because I don't think she understood my part in that. And I think that all of us need to realize this too. It's not just us. I didn't pave the roads. I didn't build the fucking camera. I didn't make this microphone. Like, a lot of this isn't me. But a lot of it is too. And all of us have to figure out what is and isn't us. I've had some clients I've worked with for years. They've achieved so many of their goals and dreams beyond their wildest dreams. And I ask what made the difference. And they say, you, the tracker, and the coaching. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's good news. It's not all me. Give yourself some credit. But I've had other people go, you know what? I always knew I fucking could. And that's a red flag for me. In the past, I didn't notice. It's like, I can do anything I set my mind to. It's like, well, why can't you go to the gym ever then? You ever hear someone say that shit? It's like, oh yeah, you do anything you set your mind to. It's, well, you haven't exercised in 4 years. Like, what?
They didn't set their mind to that. That's the justification for that.
Yeah, but they did. They,
Well, no, I know, but
that's in a bathing suit.
But that's what that's what they would say is, well, that wasn't. I could. I just didn't. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like
okay.
I feel like
then why are you broke?
Some mental gymnastics going on here. I feel like there's some mental gymnastics going on.
Well, I want to kick it back to you because do you feel like people were not hard enough on you?
No. Did I again, I think it's different when there's no father figure, but no, my mom was not easy on me. Like, I remember when I was like 15, 16, she literally said, if you ever come home drunk and you drove, I will drive you right to the police station. Like, I will turn you in myself if you ever do any dumb shit like that. It's like, oh, okay. Hell yeah.
Well,
my mom was pretty hardcore, man. My mom was pretty hardcore. No, I don't think I was babied. No.
Do you know anyone who you think was? Because you have to prepare people.
Yeah, for sure.
We have to all be prepared for life. Yeah. Okay, so what do you think about that? They're
feel
in
like
trouble, right?
The reason they were babied is not necessarily because their parents didn't want to give them feedback. It's because their parents were a fucking mess. And they were worried about figuring out their own. They didn't know themselves. They didn't understand how much feedback to give. They had no idea. I mean, one person I'm thinking of, just one of his parents was an alcoholic. The other one was just somebody that had super low self-worth and just got walked on all the time. And of course, they're not going to know. They're not going to be able to figure it out and give the right amount of feedback. Because they're both on their own islands of trying to exist. So I don't necessarily know. Again, are there cases where people are just like, okay, we're going to baby this person. We're going to make sure we don't ever give them feedback? For sure. For sure. 100%. I just don't think that's always the case.
Last piece of this, I know we got to jump. I do, and again, this is very specific to the environment I grew up in, particularly the men. I mean, men just rip each other apart when they're kids.
For sure.
You can't show a fucking lick of weakness as a young boy. I remember getting we would play Mortal Kombat on the trampoline with my neighbor's older brothers. They were they would beat the shit out of us, dude.
Oh,
I remember thinking, like, this is kind of fucked up. I would go home all bloodied up, and I wonder if it's because I was so confident they needed to knock that down or something. I was beaten up a lot, dude, in hindsight. It's been really hard for me to look back on some of this. I mean, I remember I got drop kicked off the trampoline 4 times in a row. I'm talking full on drop kick. And I just kept coming. I was like, let's go. That wasn't good for me, but
it wasn't good for your physical health.
Now I realize too, somehow that also helped me, because that is also one of the reasons why I feel like, I don't know. And do you have this too, where I'm back to backs until 8 o'clock at night. That's not going to hurt me in comparison. It's like, oh, it's going to be a tough one. Yeah, it's going to be hard, but not really compared to,
I think about that.
So there's something to be said for, but I guess everyone out there watching or listening, what's the level of feedback you're giving? What's the level you believe in yourself and others? Where are you off? Because this challenge skills sweet spot thing, it's important. There are some people's in honors class that shouldn't be there, and they would hold back the smarter kids. And there's some people that are in the AP class that shouldn't be there. But there's also some people that are in the non-honors classes like me, just trying to get the A. Dude, in English, I didn't like English, so I was like, fuck it, I'm not going to take honors. Let me just get an A. But it would make the class, it's off. It's like a black belt fighting a bunch of blue belts. It's not, and vice versa, right? So I think we all have, and here's the problem. It's maybe in karate or jiu-jitsu or basketball, like those mismatches are noticeable. But in life, that's got to be one of the biggest issues. You ever date someone who was a mismatch?
For sure.
And you talk about your ex-girlfriend, how confident she was and all that stuff. Dude, I never realized how much there was a mismatch in my relationships. Friendships and intimate relationships.
I'm willing to bet my ex that I talk about often was on the wrong side of this. She probably was waiting for me to change, become something I wasn't. She would have been waiting.
Should she not have believed in you?
There's a difference between believing in me and then hinging the if then.
You know what's ironic? You probably became everything she had hoped for and then some.
I never would have if she didn't leave. Probably.
Oh, how ironic is that?
Right? That's the weird thing about it. That's the weird thing about it. And
don't fall in love with potential, but don't forget about it either.
Right.
I think that's we talked about this. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we talked about, this will be the last thing I say. I genuinely mean it. My mentor, the one thing that I really love that he said some other valuable shit, but this was really good. He said, never, ever, ever do anything, because he had been divorced. And I said, how do you make sure you don't get divorced? Because back then I was like, I think I'm going to get divorced if I end up with this woman. And I was like, I was trying to prevent that, right? So how do I not end up fucking up like you did? And he said, dude, do not do anything that feels too unnatural. That changed my life, because I realized the relationship I was in, a lot of it didn't feel like me. Like, oh, let me hang out and by the lake. Like, none of that feels like me. And I'll never forget this. I wanted to run on the beach, and I had a fitness show coming up, and she was so upset that I didn't walk on the beach with her. And it's like, listen, I want to we walked that way, and then I want to run back. I need to sprint. I need to do some hill sprints. And now with Emilia, she's the one coming up with those ideas. She was so upset with me. She's like, why couldn't you have just spent time with me on the beach? It's like, I have a show coming up. My fucking goals matter. Why don't you have any goals? Why are you mad at me? Let me run. Let me go. Let me be free. Let me do what I do, baby boo. I'm joking. But ultimately, I do get it. Never do anything that feels too unnatural. And I think that we all have an essence. And I think that when you want a partner or a friend to change their essence, I think that's a recipe for disaster.
I would agree. And the last thing I would say is, if somebody if the reason you want someone to change is because you know they really want the thing, like maybe I don't want somebody to change for me. If I want them to change for them, that's different. But I still can't pull them. It's just not going to work. Especially if you're somebody who is like, you act like a hero and you are a martyr and you martyr yourself for other people. That's not sustainable. That's what a guide is. Now, again, this is different, but a guide is like, if you want to come, I can show you the way. If you don't want to come, I'm not going to drag your ass. I'm not going to drag your ass. I'm not saying it's always that way, because sometimes I think sometimes you do need a little kick in the butt. You do need a little drag. And I think sometimes you do need to kick someone in the butt, and you might need to drag them for a little bit. So I'm not saying it's a blanket statement, but if you want someone to change because you know they want to change, that's different. But I think if you're in a relationship with someone, it's like, okay, if, I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it. Because what if you're wrong?
You always identified relational mismatches way before I did in the past. Is that what you were looking for? You just saw mismatches in drive, ambition, aspiration, core values?
Maybe. You can usually tell by the way somebody talks to the other partner. I think it's a John Gottman thing. It was like, if you put someone in a room for X amount of time, he could predict
30 seconds.
He could predict
with 94% accuracy.
Right? Yeah. So like, am I that? No. But when you see someone enough and you see the way they interact, it's like, cutting strings. You talked about that in our previous episode. Every time, it's like, that's a string that got cut. And it's not getting tied back stronger than it was. No way. No. And if I ever talk to someone and they're like, yeah, this is going to change and this is going to change. It's like, dude, I don't know. I think you're in trouble. Would you stay with this person if it never changed? Yes or no? No? Then that's a conversation. Now, I'm not saying the person is not going to evolve. They're not going to grow. I'm not saying that. But I'm talking like specific stuff. Like, well, I'm somebody who goes to the gym 6 times a week. I really want my partner to. It's like, okay, have they ever gone to the gym before? No? How old are they? They're 29? You think they're going to go to the gym 6 times a week with you, like starting now? I'm not saying they won't, but what if they don't?
Anyone could, though.
I understand, but not everybody will.
This is so hard because both of us are
correct. Both of us are correct. Yeah, for sure.
Both are. Anyone can go to the gym 6 days a week if they really wanted to.
100%.
But most people won't. And that's the difference between potential and reality.
Are you willing to bet your marriage on it?
No.
That's the question.
I almost did back in the day.
Okay, so
I never did.
Are you that would be my takeaway to them is, okay, so you're going to get together and then you're going to influence them and get them to go to the gym 6 times a week. And if they don't, then what? Oh, we're probably not going to last. Okay.
Yeah, it's almost like if the relationship is entirely predicated on your leadership.
Yeah, I mean, that's
a dangerous game.
That's a dangerous game. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Again, I don't know, these are always challenging episodes because to Alan's point, I think there's truth to all of it. Yeah, if you're in a relationship, you got to lead. You got to know when to lead and you got to know when to follow, 100%. But if your only job in the relationship is to lead and you're always setting the pace for everything, and if the other person doesn't keep up with your pace, you're always frustrated, that's not going to work. That is not going to work. In my opinion.
Damn.
In my opinion.
No. I think it's true. I'm just looking back at my past it was inevitable.
Unfortunately.
A lot, the growth rates were just too different. And I just wish I understood any of this. That's all. I just didn't understand any of this.
Same.
I remember Emilia, I'll share this. And I did say that it was going to be the last thing, but it's not.
You say that all the time. This will be the last thing.
I do say that.
I still have work to do. You have many works to do.
I have to go literally right now. Emilia said, I'm so afraid to outgrow you. I said, sweetheart, that's my fear too. We're good. We have the same fear. That's something. And core values, core aspirations, core beliefs in conflict. People say agree to disagree. There's certain things, like Kevin and I are business partners, where there's certain things we have to agree on. You can't just, no stress. Just agree to disagree. Let's just split apart and ruin the company. I do think some of that is very impractical. And again, that's a whole nother conversation because I coach couples. So I see this behind the scenes when no one's watching. And I see you better get on the same page. You better get on the same page quick. If you're acquaintances and you see each other twice a year, you're good. You don't have to agree on everything. But if you live together and there's some hefty disagreements, you're going to have to figure that out. And that's the messiest, hardest part of life, in my opinion. I think relationships are the hardest part.
I think success is, but relationships aren't easy. It's relationships
doing both simultaneously. Can we agree? Is the hardest thing ever.
I would say all things considered, and again, I don't mean to say this like an asshole, but fitness is pretty easy. All things considered, compared to the other two. Kev, you can
agree.
How successful can you be in fitness? It's like, give me that one. I got it.
Yeah,
got it. Because it's just you against you. That's why.
Yeah.
And nothing else in life really seems to be.
I know.
Right?
No wonder why we're so drawn to it. It's all of our certainty.
I can just go be alone in the darkness and I'm in control of most of what happens.
I know. That's so true.
I like it.
Yeah, big fan.
All right.
Okay.
If you're looking to be more in control of what happens to your life and you think one of the better ways to do that would be to be surrounded by amazing people, join our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation. We'll have the link below in the show notes.
Book club is every Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you are looking to get more drive, more humility, more hunger, more growth, that's the place to do it. It's an amazing group of people. It might as well be free coaching. It's been called free coaching. And we talk about these awesome books and we help. The only requirement in book club is that you improve yourself and you improve your life. Join us. The link will be in the show notes.
As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep it next level. Next Level Nation.